23rd of October. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Well, seems like it was relatively uneventful weekend in cyberspace. I don't know where this shit comes from. This weekend, doesn't appear that there was a great deal of really critical stuff that kicked off, which is quite good. But there are some interesting articles that I came across this morning anyway, which sort of address some of the broader things going on in cybersecurity. So the MI5 chief has warned of Chinese cyber espionage on an unprecedented scale. So, I know those of us that work in cybersecurity have been deeply concerned about espionage, cyber espionage emanating from China. And I know that equally a lot of organizations tend to play down whether they are likely to be a target of this sort of stuff or not. But the head of MI5, MI5, for those that don't know, is one of the security services in the UK. I'm sure most people listening to this do know that, but there you go. So the head of MI5 has warned that over 20,000 people in the UK are specific targets for Chinese spies. The intention of this espionage is mostly obtaining commercial secrets and intellectual property to the advantage of the government in Beijing. It has ramped up to a very in a very significant way recently, and if you work with cutting edge technology, expect that you are on their radar, on the radar of the Chinese government. And that's commercial businesses in technology sector of any size, small companies, startups, researchers, and so on. But large organizations tend to have a better view of threats, whereas in small companies and startups, the effort is very much on staying afloat and doing what you need to do, and not who's trying to hack us. Well, in fact, not even hack us, who might be spying on us. And researchers, of course, by their very nature of science and research, sharing stuff tends to trump securing stuff in the minds of the people doing this work. So, easier perhaps to scam researchers than you would expect. What can one do about this stuff? Well, be vigilant. Be vigilant. There are, if you work in technology, in anything even vaguely cutting edge, make sure that you are doing good. Have a good threat profile. You've been through the MITRE ATT&CK framework. You've worked out who it is that might be interested in you. You understand their TTPs, and at the very minimum, you've got some form of alerting that would trigger you. You've got some visibility on these basic TTPs. There is still a tendency in the market, especially for vendors, to say, look, buy my shiny thing and everything you do will be fine. The reality is that attackers do use repeatable TTPs. And if you understand what those are, you'll find you don't need highly complex systems or highly complex use cases to catch the stuff that'll get tried first. I'm going to stand by what I've said before. It's unlikely that an attacker is going to use a 0-day exploit on you if they can get what they want with something simple. They'll try the simple stuff first, because at the moment these complex attacks are released, they are on a very short path to being useless. So bear in mind and understand your threats, and build your defenses around what's real. And I would also say actually test those defenses. So penetration testing, great, okay, yeah, finds vulnerabilities and exploitable vulnerabilities and things. Vulnerability management, and looks for vulnerabilities and builds in the processes to remediate those, regardless of whether they're actually exploitable or not. Red teaming, asking the question, can you be broken into? Well, the answer to that one is, even if you can't today, you will be tomorrow, because it's an ever-moving landscape. Purple teaming, though, on the other hand, is a really sensible thing to ask, and the key to that is not, oh yeah, fine, let's just help our defenders a little bit. The actual question is a C-level question. If you are in charge, if you're responsible for a very large security budget, ask yourself the question, how do I know whether that money has actually made my organization more secure? Where are the metrics? How can you really tell? Well, purple teaming can give you those sorts of answers. And anybody that wants to explore that whole concept further, drop me a line and I'll explain in more detail what I mean. So, Signal's president, Meredith Whittaker, has asserted that AI is inherently surveillance technology. Now, I think she's probably got some. She's probably got a point to make there. We're seeing AI, chatbots and these sorts of things, increasingly being used for all sorts of things, but without the full understanding of what's happening to the data which is being input into these systems, or really much in the way of controls over what data is used to train the AI systems. I suspect she's right that in the end, AI tools, given the chance, are just hoovering up enormous amounts of information. I'm going to try an experiment after this. I'm going to go onto one of the chatbots and I'm going to ask it what it knows about me, and I'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't know very much, or it could just be lying and not telling me what it really does know about me. And that is an interesting thing, because we do know that chatbots are, AI is perfectly capable of lying very convincingly about pretty much anything. Chatbots will make up history. Chatbots will, you name it, it can just come up with stuff. And of course, because it's obviously not a person behind it, it has no conscience about this stuff. It isn't even aware of the fact that it's lying. So it's just very interesting. But yeah, so if you are using Signal, at least take a little comfort in the fact that Signal understands this stuff. One thing, by the way, Signal doesn't use very much, from what I can tell, doesn't use very much in the realms of AI, but it does use a commercial product which is used to identify faces in photographs and blur them. Okay, now, why would you want to do that? Well, if the president of Signal is concerned that having your photograph on the internet is leaking biometric data, that is I think a strong indication that my concerns around using biometrics for authentication there is some truth in that, and I suspect floating around in the background there are researchers looking into if I can get a digital copy of your fingerprint, how would I insert that in the path of a fingerprint reader to unlock something? You know what I mean? So it's all out there somewhere. So I think that's an interesting article in Cybersecurity News, which we will link to this briefing. And then finally, a little bit of good news. The number of Cisco iOS XE devices currently being hit with backdoors has plummeted from over 50,000 compromised devices to only a few hundred. So it's unclear exactly. The researchers looking into this are not entirely sure what's caused such a sharp decline, but it is, I think, entirely possible to hard work and dedication on the part of network admins who have, I am sure, been listening to not only this briefing, but presumably probably lots of others saying, just get on and patch this stuff, get it fixed, look into it. This is not one to punt down the line. We've seen that when the tech world gets its head round a particular threat, globally, it's possible to make an enormous amount of difference. The year 2000 non-event was a perfect example of that. It wasn't that the risks were overstated so much as the risks were understood, the risks were fixable, and organisations went to a great deal of trouble to fix things before they went wrong. Well, I suspect that we've got at least to some extent some of that going on in the background. So if you are responsible for having patched, fixed and updated Cisco iOS XE devices in your organisation, you get a well done from me. That's all for today. I hope you have a good day, and I will speak to you